The drill broke through the ice at 3:47 in the morning. Yuna heard the strange sound first. It was not the normal cracking of frozen water. It was something else. Something hollow. Something old. She stopped the machine and called her team over. The miners gathered around the hole, shining their lights into the darkness below. What they saw made no sense. There was metal down there. Smooth, curved metal that did not belong on Europa. It did not belong anywhere near Earth. "Get the commander," Yuna said. Her voice was shaking. "Get everyone." Within 6 hours, the small mining station on Jupiter's moon became the most important place in human history. Ships arrived from Earth, from Mars, from the colonies on Titan, scientists, soldiers, politicians. They all wanted to see what the miners had found. The object was a ship. But it was not like any ship humans had ever built. The metal was a color that had no name. The shape was wrong in a way that hurt the eyes. And inside, frozen in a case of perfect crystal, was a body. Dahyun was the first to understand what they were looking at. He was young, barely 25, but he was the best AI specialist in the outer colonies. He connected his equipment to the alien ship's computer and started to read. "It's a language," he said. "A real language. Give me time." It took him 3 days. 3 days of no sleep, no food. Just him and the alien symbols flowing across his screen. When he finally spoke again, his face was pale. "His name is Velith," Dahyun said. "He is a guardian. His people are called the Kalori. They are warriors, protectors. Each one bonds with a single person and guards them until death." The generals leaned forward. "Bonds? What does that mean?" "I don't fully understand," Dahyun admitted. "But it seems to be permanent. Once a guardian bonds, they cannot break it. They will die for their charge. They will kill for their charge. It is their entire purpose. And this one?" Yuna asked, looking at the frozen figure. "Who was he bonded to?" Dahyun was quiet for a long moment. "A princess. Kalori royalty. She died in a battle 1,358 years ago. After she died, he had no purpose. So he flew to the edge of known space and chose to sleep forever." The room was silent. Everyone stared at the crystal case. The alien inside was huge, 8 feet tall at least, with silver skin and 4 arms. His face looked almost human, but sharper, harder. Even in sleep, he looked dangerous. "Can we wake him?" the commander asked. "Yes," Dahyun said, "but I don't know if we should." They did it anyway. Of course they did. Humans always want to know. They always want to see. They cannot leave mysteries alone. The awakening took 12 hours. Slowly, the crystal melted. The alien's body warmed. His 4 hands twitched. His eyes moved beneath closed lids. The room was full of important people. Generals stood at the front. Scientists held their instruments ready. Soldiers gripped their weapons. Everyone was watching. Everyone was waiting. In the back of the room, almost invisible, stood Jiwoo. She was not important. She was just a mechanic. 34 years old, with short black hair and oil stains on her jacket. She fixed things. Engines, life support systems, broken coffee machines. She was only in the room because someone needed to monitor the power systems during the awakening. Jiwoo did not expect to be noticed. She never was. The alien opened his eyes. They were gold. Bright gold, like stars. They swept across the room, passing over the generals, the scientists, the soldiers. And then they stopped. They stopped on Jiwoo. She did not know why she did it. Maybe she was nervous. Maybe she felt sorry for him, this ancient warrior waking up alone after more than 1,000 years. Whatever the reason, she smiled. It was small, just a little curve of her lips. A simple human gesture of kindness. The alien's whole body went rigid. His golden eyes grew wide. A word escaped his mouth, rough and broken from centuries of silence. The translator needed a moment to process it. When it spoke, every person in the room heard, bonded. Chaos erupted. Generals shouted questions. Scientists rushed forward with their instruments. Soldiers raised their weapons. But Velith did not look at any of them. He only looked at Ji-woo. He rose from the crystal case. His forearms pushed against the sides, and his massive body unfolded like something from a nightmare. He was even bigger standing up. His silver skin caught the light. The muscles beneath it looked like they were made of metal cables. He walked toward her. The soldiers tried to stop him. He moved through them like they were not there. Not violent, just unstoppable. Ji-woo did not run. She did not know why. Her legs would not move. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. But she did not run. Velith stopped in front of her. He was so tall that she had to lean her head back to see his face. Up close, she could see the scars on his silver skin. She could see the age in his golden eyes. He had seen things she could not imagine. He had lived through centuries of war, and now he was looking at her like she was the only thing in the universe. "I am yours," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "Until death." Ji-woo stared up at him. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. "I'm sorry," she said finally. "But I think there's been some kind of mistake." There was no mistake. And nothing in Ji-woo's life would ever be the same again. Velith could not believe what had happened. In 4,000 years of Guardian history, no Kalori had ever bonded with a human. It was not supposed to be possible. Humans were young. Their species had only been traveling between stars for a few hundred years. The Kalori had watched them from far away and decided they were not worth knowing. They called humans the children of the galaxy. Small, weak, unimportant. And now Velith's soul was tied to one of them. He stood outside Ji-woo's door. He had been standing there for 6 hours. He did not need to sit. He did not need to rest. Guardians could go weeks without sleep when protecting their charge. His body was built for one purpose, and that purpose was keeping her alive. Her, a mechanic. A woman who fixed broken machines for a living. Velith wanted to scream. He wanted to tear the walls apart with his 4 hands. He had served Kalori royalty. He had protected the daughter of the High King himself. Princess Elith had been wise and beautiful and powerful. She had commanded armies. She had spoken with the voice of their ancestors. Ji-woo ate instant noodles from a plastic cup. He had watched her do it 3 times today. The door opened. Ji-woo stepped out, and she jumped when she saw him. "You're still here," she said. "I will always be here." That's really not necessary. Velith did not answer. It was not about what was necessary. It was about what was. The bond existed. He could feel her heartbeat like a second pulse inside his chest. He knew she was tired. He knew she was confused. He knew she had not slept well. "Look," Ji-woo said. She was trying to be patient. He could tell. "I don't know what's happening to you. I don't understand your culture or your bond or any of it. But I'm nobody. I fix engines. I replace air filters. I'm not someone who needs protecting." "Everyone needs protecting," Velith said. "Not like this." She waved her hand at him. "Not with a giant alien warrior following them everywhere. People are scared of you. I'm scared of you." That hurt. Velith did not expect it to hurt. He had been feared before. He had been hated. He had been worshipped. None of it had touched him. But hearing this small human woman say she was scared of him felt like a knife between his ribs. "I will not harm you," he said. "I cannot harm you." The bond would not allow it. The bond, the bond, the bond. Jiwoo pressed her hands against her face. Everyone keeps talking about this bond, but nobody can explain it to me. What does it mean? What happens to you if I die? What happens to me if you die? If you die, I die, Velis said simply. Within minutes. Perhaps seconds. Jiwoo's face went pale. And if you die, you will live. The bond only flows one way. I am the guardian. You are the charge. Your survival is everything. My survival means nothing. She stared at him. Her eyes were dark brown, almost black. He noticed that she had a small scar on her chin. He wondered how she had gotten it. That's horrible, she whispered. Velith did not understand. It is honor. It is purpose. It's horrible, she said again. You're a person. Your life matters. You shouldn't just exist to die for someone else. He had no answer for that. In 4,000 years, no one had ever said such a thing to him. The days that followed were strange. Commander Tayson wanted to use Velith. He made this very clear in meeting after meeting. A bonded Kalori Guardian was the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, he said. Velith could tear through enemy ships with his bare hands. He could survive in the vacuum of space. He could fight for hours without stopping. Think about what we could do, Tayson said. His eyes were bright with hunger. The pirates that attack our colonies. The rival factions that threaten our trade routes. With a guardian fighting for us, we would be unstoppable. Jiwoo sat in the corner of the meeting room. She did not speak much. She was only there because the bond required her presence during any discussion about Velith. But when Tayson finished talking, she stood up. No, she said that the room went quiet. Excuse me? Tayson's voice was cold. I said no. Jiwoo's hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. He's not a weapon. He's a person. I won't let you use him like a tool. You don't have a choice. This is a military matter. The needs of humanity come first. Velith watched this exchange with growing surprise. Jiwoo was small. She had no power. Tayson could destroy her career with a single word. But she stood there anyway, facing him down, refusing to bend. Then find someone else to be bonded to your guardian, Jiwoo said. Because I won't be part of this. She walked out of the room. After a moment, Velith followed her. He always followed her now. He found her in the engine room. She was crying. Not loudly. Just quiet tears running down her face as she pretended to work on a machine that did not need fixing. Why did you do that? Velith asked. Jiwoo wiped her eyes. Because it was wrong. Because you deserve better than being treated like a thing. I am a guardian. Being used is my purpose. Your purpose is protecting someone. She looked up at him. Her eyes were red from crying, but there was something fierce in them. But I'm supposed to be that someone, right? So here's what I want you to protect. Protect your own dignity. Protect your own choices. I don't want a slave. I don't want a weapon. I just want you to be free. Velith stood very still. In 1,358 years of sleep, he had dreamed of Princess Alith, of her grace, of her strength, of the honor of serving her. He had never dreamed of anything like this. I cannot leave you, he said. The bond does not allow it. Then stay, Jiwoo said. But stay because you want to, not because you have to. She turned back to her machine. Her hands were still shaking. Velith looked at her for a long time. This strange, stubborn, impossible human. She did not want power. She did not want a weapon. She just wanted him to be free. He did not know what to do with that. He did not know what to feel. But for the first time since he woke up, he did not wish he was still asleep. 3 months passed on Europa Station. Velith watched. He was good at watching. Guardians spent most of their time observing their charges, learning their patterns, understanding their weaknesses. But the more Velith watched Ji-woo, the less he understood. She worked too hard. That was the first thing he noticed. The station needed repairs constantly. The cold of Europa cracked pipes and froze circuits. The old machines broke down every week. Ji-woo fixed them all. She worked 18 hours some days, 20 hours on bad days. She did not complain. She did not ask for help. She just kept working until every system was running again. Why? Velith asked her once. There are other mechanics. Why do you do so much? Ji-woo shrugged. Because if I don't, someone might get hurt. A broken heater means someone freezing in their sleep. A broken air filter means someone getting sick. These things matter. He did not understand. His previous charges had servants. They had people whose only job was to handle small problems. Princess Alith never touched a machine in her life. She never needed to, but Ji-woo had no servants. She was the servant. And she seemed happy with that. The second thing Velith noticed was how she treated other people. There was a young miner named Hyan. He was new to the station and scared of everything. The other miners laughed at him. They called him weak. They said he would not last a month. But Ji-woo sat with him at meals. She told him stories about her first job on a space station, how she had cried every night for a week. She made him feel like he was not alone. There was a pregnant woman named Somi in the medical bay. She was far from her family, far from her home. She was scared of giving birth in this cold place. Ji-woo gave her extra food rations. She visited every day, even when she was exhausted. She held Somi's hand and told her everything would be okay. Velith watched all of this with growing confusion. Ji-woo had nothing. She was nobody. She had no power, no wealth, no status. But she gave anyway. She gave her time, her energy, her food, her kindness. She gave until she had nothing left to give, and then she found more to give. You are strange, Velith told her one night. They were in the engine room. Ji-woo was lying on her back under a machine, her hands covered in black grease. She laughed at his words. It was a good laugh. Warm and real. Thanks, I guess? It was not a compliment. It was an observation. You make no sense. What do you mean? Velith tried to find the right words. The Kalori believe in hierarchy. The strong protect the weak. The worthy are served by the unworthy. Everything has a proper order. But you serve everyone. You protect everyone, even when they are not your responsibility, even when it hurts you. Ji-woo slid out from under the machine. Her face was smudged with oil, but her eyes were serious. That's just being human, she said. We take care of each other. That's what we do. Before Velith could answer, the alarm started screaming. The attack came fast. Pirates, the Lost Syndicate, the most dangerous criminal group in the outer colonies. They wanted the alien technology from Velith's ship. They wanted him. And they did not care how many humans they had to kill to get what they wanted. The station had security. Not many. 20 soldiers against 50 pirates. It was not a fair fight. Get to the safe room, Velith told Ji-woo. I will handle this. No, this is not a discussion. You are my charge. Your safety is everything. Ji-woo grabbed a welding torch from her workbench. Her hands were steady. Her eyes were hard. There are children on this station. Families. I'm not hiding while people die. You will die if you fight. Then I'll die, she said. But I won't hide. She ran toward the sounds of gunfire. Velith had no choice but to follow. What he saw in the next hour changed everything he thought. He knew about humans. Ji-woo was not a soldier. She had no training. Her welding torch was not a weapon. But she fought anyway. When a pirate shot at her, she dodged and burned his arm. When another tried to grab her, she kicked him in the knee and ran. She was not graceful. She was not skilled. But she did not stop. She took a plasma burn to her shoulder. Veleth saw it happen. He felt her pain through the bond like fire in his own flesh. But she did not fall. She kept moving, kept fighting, kept protecting. Then they reached the mess hall. 3 children were hiding behind a table. A pirate stood over them, his weapon raised. There was no time to think. No time to plan. Jiwoo threw herself between the gun and the children. Veleth moved faster than he had ever moved in his life. He crossed the room in a single heartbeat. His 4 hands grabbed the pirate and tore him apart. It was over in seconds, but when he turned around, Jiwoo was on the ground. The gun had fired. She was bleeding. Not from her shoulder this time. From her chest. Veleth carried her to the medical bay. He killed 6 more pirates on the way. He did not count. He did not care. All that mattered was the woman in his arms, her blood soaking into his silver skin. "You should have run," he said. His voice was shaking. He did not know his voice could shake. Jiwoo smiled. It was weak. It was fading, but it was still a smile. "Kids were scared," she whispered. Someone had to help. The doctors took her away. Veleth stood outside the door, his 4 hands pressed against the wall. He could feel her heartbeat through the bond. It was weak but steady. She was alive. She was going to live. He stayed there all night. He did not move. He did not eat. He just stood and thought about what he had seen. Princess Aleph had been royalty. She had been powerful and wise and noble. But she had never done what Jiwoo did tonight. She would never have thrown herself in front of a gun to save children. She did not know Jiwoo was not royalty. She was not powerful. She was just a mechanic with grease under her fingernails and oil in her hair. But she had done what guardians were supposed to do. She had protected others with her own body. Her own life in 4,000 years of guardian history. Veleth had never seen anyone outside. His species do that maybe humans were not the children of the galaxy after all. Maybe they were something else entirely. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. An ancient Kalori guardian had awakened. He had bonded with a human. The story reached every station, every planet, every ship. Everyone was talking about it. The reactions were not kind. The Kalori Dominion was furious. To them, the guardian bond was sacred. It was the highest honor their species could give. And now one of their greatest warriors had wasted it on a human. A mechanic. A nobody. They sent a delegation to Europa Station. The ship arrived on a cold morning. It was beautiful and terrible, made of the same strange metal as Veleth's vessel. When the doors opened, 12 Kalori warriors stepped out. At their front was High Commander Rethan. Veleth knew him. They had served together long ago. Rethan had been young then, just a recruit. Now he was old and scarred and powerful. His 4 arms were covered in the marks of battle. His golden eyes were cold. "Veleth," Rethan said, "I hope the reports were wrong." "They were not wrong. You bonded with a human." Rethan's voice was full of disgust. "After serving Princess Aleph, after protecting Kalori royalty, you gave your soul to one of them?" Jiwoo stood beside Veleth. She was still recovering from her wounds. Her arm was in a sling. Her face was pale. But she refused to stay in the medical bay. She refused to hide. "I did not choose the bond," Veleth said. "You know this. No guardian chooses, but you could end it." Rethan stepped forward. "The ritual of severance. It is painful. It is dangerous, but it would free you. You could return to the Dominion. You could serve your own people again." Veleth felt Jiwoo tense beside him. Through the bond, he felt her fear. Not for herself. For him. What happens to her? Velith asked. If I perform the ritual? Rethan's eyes flickered to Jiwoo. There was no warmth in them. No care. The human would likely die. The bond runs deep. Cutting it is not gentle. Then no. The word fell like a stone. The Kalori warriors shifted. Their hands moved toward their weapons. Rethan's face twisted with anger. You would refuse? For? Yes, she is nothing. A weak, short-lived creature who will be dead in 50 years anyway. You are immortal, Velith. You will live for thousands more years. Why waste yourself on something so temporary? Jiwoo made a small sound. Velith did not need to look at her to know she was hurt. The words were cruel. They were meant to be cruel, but Velith had been thinking about this for weeks. Ever since the night Jiwoo threw herself in front of those children. Ever since he watched her nearly die to protect people she barely knew. You taught me about worthiness, Velith said. From the day I was born, you taught me that some beings deserve protection and others do not. That power determines value. That strength determines honor. He looked at Rethan, at the warriors behind him, at the ship that had carried them across the stars. You were wrong. The words hung in the air. No one moved. I have served Kalori royalty, Velith continued. I have protected the powerful, but I have never seen any of them do what this human did. She has no strength, no power, no reason to care about anyone but herself. But she fights anyway. She protects anyway. She gives everything she has to people who will never thank her. He placed one of his 4 hands on Jiwoo's shoulder. Gentle, protective. She is more worthy than any being I have ever served. And if your Dominion cannot see that, then your Dominion has forgotten what guardians are supposed to be. Rethan was silent for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was like ice. Then, you are no longer Kalori. You are exile, outcast. The Dominion will not protect you. The Dominion will not help you. And when your enemies come, and they will come, you will face them alone. I will not be alone, Velith said. I will be with her. Rethan turned away. The warriors followed. One by one, they walked back to their ship. When the doors closed and the engines fired, Velith knew he would never see his homeworld again. He expected to feel grief. He expected to feel loss. Instead, he felt free. Jiwoo was staring up at him. Her eyes were wet with tears. You didn't have to do that, she whispered. You gave up everything. Your people. Your home. For me? Velith looked down at her. This small, stubborn human who had changed everything. You are my home now, he said. That is enough. But even as he spoke, warning lights began flashing across the station. Commander Tassin's voice came over the speakers, sharp with fear. All personnel, this is not a drill. We have enemy ships entering the system. Multiple vessels. It's the Lost Syndicate. They've brought a fleet. Jiwoo's face went pale. The last attack had nearly destroyed them. 20 soldiers against 50 pirates. Now there was a fleet. How many ships? Someone asked. 30, Tassin said. At least 30. Velith looked at Jiwoo. She was scared. He could feel it through the bond. But under the fear, there was something else. Something hard and bright and stubborn. We should run, Velith said. There is no shame in retreat. Jiwoo shook her head. There are 2,000 people on this station. Families, children. The evacuation ships can only hold a few hundred. If we run, we leave people behind. Then we fight. Then we fight, Jiwoo agreed. She took his hand. Her fingers were small and warm against his silver skin. Together? She asked. Velith had faced armies alone. He had fought battles that lasted days. He had killed more enemies than he could count. But in all his long years, he had never felt what he felt now. Together, he said the war was coming. And for the first time in his life, Veleth was not fighting for duty. He was not fighting for honor. He was fighting for something real. The Lost Syndicate fleet filled the sky above Europa. 30 ships. Thousands of pirates. They wanted the alien technology. They wanted Veleth. And they did not care if they had to burn the entire station to get what they wanted. Commander Tayson gathered his officers in the war room. The screen showed the enemy fleet like a swarm of angry insects. There was no escape. The station's few defense ships would be destroyed in minutes. "We need to prepare for the end," Tayson said. His voice was heavy. "Get as many civilians to the shelters as possible. The rest of us will hold the line as long as we can." It was a death sentence. Everyone knew it, but Jiwoo was not listening to Tayson. She was looking at a different screen. A map of the station. The mining tunnels. The equipment storage. The engineering systems she knew better than anyone. "Give me 12 hours, she said. Everyone turned to look at her. The mechanic. The nobody. Speaking up in a room full of generals and officers. "What?" Tayson asked. "Give me 12 hours before they attack. I have an idea." Jiwoo had spent the last 3 months talking to people. Not the important people. Not the officers or scientists or politicians. She talked to the miners, the cooks, the cleaners, the other mechanics. The invisible people who kept the station running. Now she called them together. They gathered in the main engineering bay. 300 people. Workers with rough hands and tired eyes. People who had never held a weapon in their lives. "The Syndicate thinks we're weak," Jiwoo said. "They think we'll roll over and die. But they don't know this station like we do. We built it. We fixed it. We kept it running through every storm and every crisis. And we're going to use everything we know to make them regret coming here." The miners knew the ice tunnels. Every crack, every shortcut, every hidden cave. They could move through the underground like ghosts. The engineers knew the power systems. They could overload circuits, create explosions, turn the station itself into a weapon. The cooks knew the ventilation systems. They could pump gas into specific areas. They could control where people could breathe and where they could not. And the mechanics? The mechanics knew machines. They knew how to build things. And over the next 12 hours, they built weapons. Jiwoo designed them herself. EMP cannons made from old mining equipment. Drones built from spare parts. Traps using industrial chemicals. Nothing fancy. Nothing elegant. Just desperate inventions made by desperate people who refused to die. Veleth watched all of this with growing amazement. He had seen armies prepare for war. He had seen the greatest Kailori warriors plan their battles. But he had never seen anything like this. "You are not soldiers," he said to Jiwoo. "No," she agreed. Her hands were bleeding from 12 hours of work. Her eyes were red from no sleep. But she was smiling. "We're not soldiers. We're the people who fix things when they break. And right now, everything is broken." The attack came at dawn. The Syndicate ships descended on the station like falling stars. Their soldiers poured through the airlocks, thousands of them, armed with the best weapons money could buy. They expected easy targets. Scared civilians. A handful of guards. They found hell instead. The first wave walked straight into the mining tunnels. They thought they were taking a shortcut. Instead, they found traps. Explosive charges buried in the ice. Cave-ins triggered by remote control. The miners who built those tunnels knew exactly where to place every trap. The second wave tried to take the main corridor. The engineers overloaded the power grid in that section. Every light, every door, every piece of equipment exploded at once. The pirates died in fire and electricity. The third wave sent their elite soldiers through the ventilation shafts. The cooks were waiting. They pumped in chemicals from the industrial cleaners. Not enough to kill, just enough to blind and choke. The elite soldiers crawled out gasping and crying. Easy targets for the mechanics with their homemade weapons. Through it all, Velas fought. He was everywhere at once, his forearms dealing death to anyone who threatened the people he had come to care about. Pirates fell before him like grass before a scythe. But even he could not be everywhere. The Syndicate commander saw what was happening. His forces were dying by the hundreds. This station of nobodies was destroying his fleet. "Glass them," he ordered. "Destroy the entire station. Kill them all." The flagship moved into position. Its main cannon powered up. A weapon that could crack a moon in half, pointed directly at Europa Station. Jiwoo saw it on her screen. She saw the energy building. She did the math in her head. There was only one chance. "I need a shuttle," she said. Velith grabbed her arm. "No, the cannon has a weakness. If something hits it while it's charging, the energy will backfire. It'll cripple the whole ship. You will die." Jiwoo looked at him. Her eyes were calm. Peaceful almost. "Maybe," she said. "But 2,000 people won't. That's worth it." She pulled free and ran for the hangar. Velith followed, but she was already in the shuttle before he could stop her. The door closed between them. Through the glass, he saw her smile one more time. The shuttle launched. It was small and fast and damaged. It should not have made it. Every gun on the flagship fired at it. Plasma bolts and missiles and laser beams, all trying to destroy this tiny ship carrying one tiny human. Jiwoo dodged them all. She flew like she was born for it. Her hands moved across the controls without thinking. Left, right, up, down, spinning through a storm of fire. She was not a pilot. She had never done this before. But she did it anyway. The flagship's cannon reached full charge. In 3 seconds, it would fire. In 3 seconds, everyone Jiwoo loved would die. She aimed the shuttle at the cannon's core and pushed the engines to maximum. The collision was beautiful. A flower of fire blooming in the darkness of space. The cannon exploded inward, tearing through the flagship like a knife through paper. The great ship broke apart, its pieces spinning away into nothing. Velith felt something through the bond. Not pain, not death. Hope. He ran for the airlocks. He found a mining pod and launched himself into space. He flew through the debris, through the fire, through the spinning wreckage of the flagship. His forearms pushed aside metal and ice. He found the escape pod tumbling near the ruins of the flagship. It was barely holding together. The glass was cracked. The lights were flickering. Inside, covered in blood and burns, was Jiwoo, alive. Barely. He caught the pod in his arms and pulled it close. Through the cracked glass, he saw her open her eyes. She was laughing. Laughing through broken ribs and burns and wounds that should have killed her. "Told you," she whispered. "Humans are stubborn." Velith held her pod against his chest. Around them, the Syndicate fleet was retreating. The remaining ships fled into deep space, running from a station full of miners and cooks and mechanics who had refused to die. "Yes," Velith said. Something warm filled his chest. Something he had not felt in over 1,000 years. "You are." The war was over, but the story was just beginning. Word spread across the galaxy of what had happened on Europa. How a station of nobodies had defeated a pirate fleet. How a human mechanic had saved them all. How a Kalori guardian had chosen a human over his own people. Other guardians heard the story. Some were angry. Some were confused. But some began to wonder. If one human was worthy of the bond, could there be others? 5 years later, Velith stood before the first joint human Kalori Academy. Young guardians in training, learning new ways, learning that worthiness was not about power or blood or status. It was about choice. It was about sacrifice. It was about protecting others even when it cost you everything. Beside him stood Ji-woo. She was older now, with gray in her black hair. She was the chief engineer of the Europa shipyards. She still ate instant noodles. She still talked to engines. She still smiled at everyone who needed it. She had changed nothing about herself. She had changed everything about the galaxy. One of the young guardians raised a hand. How do we know if someone is worthy of the bond? Velith looked at Ji-woo. She looked back at him, and they both smiled. You will know, Velith said, when they would die for others without being asked, when they give without expecting return, when they protect the weak not because they must, but because they cannot imagine doing otherwise. He placed one of his 4 hands over his heart. When they make you want to be better than you are. The lesson ended. The students left. Velith and Ji-woo stood together, looking out at the stars. Do you ever regret it? Ji-woo asked. Choosing me? Losing your people? Velith considered the question. He thought about everything he had lost. His home, his culture, his history. Then he thought about everything he had gained. No, he said. I found something better. Ji-woo took his hand. Her fingers were warm against his silver skin. Me too, she said. And somewhere across the galaxy, other guardians were waking up. They were searching the stars, looking for humans to protect, looking for the small, stubborn creatures who had proven worthy of the oldest bond in the universe. The galaxy would never be the same. But then again, neither would they.